Hi family, hope everyone is doing great, staying prayed up. Well, I'm popping on real quick to do a fall update of what's going on in the yard and what's not going on in the garden. Typically we don't do a fall garden. We just pretty much support what wants to keep growing because the climate is just so unpredictable. And then we plant in succession kale, lettuce, collard greens and stuff like that. But otherwise we just allow the beds to rest and just keep feeding them with kitchen scraps and so on. So I'm going to flip this camera around and just give you a little snippet of what's going on. I hope it will be encouraging for you to start planning for spring garden, to plant something. Okay, so the champion of the garden this year was the pumpkins. It took over all of this area here. If you know what it looked like before, we had all mint and then we would plant our callaloo here. The pumpkin just totally took over, but it did provide a lot of pumpkins for us, and it's still trying to do so. As you can see, the vine is dying now because the nights are so cold. We're dipping down into the 58s now in the night, and it's dying because of that. But we still have a couple of pumpkins on here that are still coming. I'm not ready for this one yet, so I'm not even gonna pick it. And it's still trying to put out more pumpkins. As you can see, it's climbing up here, still trying to put out more pumpkins. This was the champion of our garden this year. It really came through and just totally impressed us. Okay, moving on. Let's see what the chickies are up to. They are presently molting. Hi, Cheese Whiz. Say hi. They're presently molting. Most of them are not in the coop. But that's a natural process that happens during the fall time where they lose their feathers. Look at poor Rose. They lose their feathers in preparation to put on thicker feathers and get pretty much ready for the cold. Right, guys? How's everybody doing? Everybody is hanging out in the tunnel today. Yeah, and you can see these ones in the back side here. They're losing a little bit of their feathers as well. But by the time fall comes totally, or Thanksgiving, they'll all be nice and fluffy. Okay, so as for this bed here, I went ahead and I had planted some potty pan squashes, but then again the weather is so unpredictable. That is the same time of year that I usually plant them, but the cold started coming, and so I don't think anything is gonna become of them. All right, so over here we have some beans. The beans, they pretty much like this weather, so they're striving. I'm gonna have to just up the trellis a little bit more. I really didn't expect them to do this well this fast. And here we have some radishes. Over here I had planted some zucchini. They're here again, same time of year that I usually do so, and we were able to get a couple of zucchinis. But because of this unpredictable weather, they did not, or are not growing as fast as they should, and you can see they're kind of wilting because of the cold at night. But I'm still not giving up faith on them. I'm just gonna leave them in the ground. Typically I would just pull them up and but I'm gonna leave them in the ground and see what happens, what nature does. Still have potatoes growing, doing well. Sweet potatoes, all types of sweets, at least the sweets that we like, are here. And you can see they're starting to lose their leaves because it's getting a little bit cold at night, but they're still growing nonetheless. Now, if you know us and you've been following us for a while, you know that we always have huge sorrel trees, right? And this year I didn't plant any while I was planting the fall crop because I just thought it was too late. But Carl decided to put a couple in the ground, just see what they would do. And as you can see, they're quite ambitious. They're still putting out some sorrel, but not too much. But we have one in the front that is shielded from the cold at night, and that seems to be doing a little better than these. Okay, in this garden here I planted some green onions, as you can see right down the line, and they're doing good. This is a bell pepper garden, but of course it's gotten too cold, so they just abruptly stopped growing. Right, it's gotten too cold for them, for their comfort. And a sweet potato plant just volunteered itself in this garden, and we just allowed it to do its thing, and so it took over everything, and it's doing nice. This garden, we're pretty much allowing it to rest and just feed it with kitchen scrap. Same with this one. Actually, I planted some kale at the side here, and they're growing very fast. I put them in the ground probably 2 weeks ago. They're doing well. Also have some baby collard greens coming out here. Couple of days last week, for maybe 3 hours or so, we had 90 degrees weather, and it burnt them up. But because it's cool now, that's their ideal weather, they're gonna grow, so I'm not worried about them. As for this space here, I'm just gonna let that rest. This bed over here is our herb garden. The only thing's gonna strive right now is the oregano, and thyme is gonna stay alive throughout the whole season, and sweet basil there is gonna eventually go. Over here now we have our lettuce garden. There's a story behind this. Planted the lettuce as I usually do, same time of year, and here comes 90 degrees weather, and they bolted. You can still get the leaves off of them. You can still use the leaves off of them. So I went ahead and I planted a fresh little batch, which I'll be planting in succession 2 weeks apart. Now that the weather has gotten cooler, I believe it's gonna stay this cool. Next bed over, we have some collard greens that are just shooting up. I'm going to harvest some of these leaves today. The more you harvest them, the more they'll grow taller. And so I'm going to take off some of those leaves today. As you can see, other things are trying to grow in here. Holy basil, callaloo, zinnias. And I'm going to just pull some of those up that I don't want. The zinnias I'll keep. Callaloo, some of it I'll keep. And holy basil I'll just pull up because I've already harvested all the holy basil that I can harvest. Now, because the cool came and caught me off guard, I didn't get a chance to harvest the lemongrass, but I'm going to do so today. I'm just going to cut the whole thing right around here, store it, and then that'll be that for that. Now, as far as persimmons go, all right, these are the kinds that we have growing in our yard. Friend of ours has this one. No, this is overripe, kind of like forgot to eat it, but this kind is a Japanese persimmon. This ripens to a kind of apple texture, sweet and crunchy, or you can wait until it's soft and mushy, and it will even be sweeter at that time. I prefer to have this one when it's sweet and crunchy. No, the type that we have is this one that we grow, and I usually pick them at this stage, take them inside and wait for them to ripen like this, and it's nice and soft, almost honey-like in flavor, and you can use them to make cake, and you don't have to do anything once you put it in the ground, because we didn't do anything literally to it. But once a year, once it starts to put out the buds, that's indicative of it starting to bear or trying to put out fruits. You want to give it a good organic fertilizer, and so we've been using the chicken manure, and but it can stay on the tree even like this and ripen, but because of the birds, right, I usually pick them and take them inside to ripen like this. All right, I'm going to show you the tree now. I am so happy that it's beginning to cool down, because now I can finally get to see my roses in full bloom. Right? This one I can probably take off. It rained last night, actually all night last night. And here's a sorrel I told you about. The house kind of shielded from the cold at night, so it's a little bit bigger. But this is about 1/6 or 1/16 of the size that sorrel trees usually grow to. But you can see we're probably able to get one serving, one pitcher of sorrel for the season from these. Still continuing on to the persimmon. Now this is what a typical persimmon trees look like. They are just multi-producers. Look at it all the way up to the top. Every branch has bunches of persimmons. Now usually the birds are not usually kind, but I'm not sure what happened this year. I guess they figured out that we've been putting little baggies on them, and so this year they're allowing them to stay on it. You don't have to pick a whole bunch, but as you can see, even this branch here, it's just hanging there. Hope it doesn't break off. We should probably give it a little support. But yeah, persimmons did well for us this year. And like I said, there's not much effort. You want to have a tree that's going to give you a lot of fruits, you can invest in a persimmon tree. Don't have to do anything. It just wants to grow. Okay, beloveds, I hope that was inspiring. And yeah, plan to start a garden this spring. Start to plan early the things that you want to plant. Start small, plant them, and when those have start to bring forth fruits, you start another crop. And as you go slow like that and you see the production of your efforts and so on, you'll be not overwhelmed, but you'll be encouraged and have confidence that you can do it. So I hope this was an inspiration for you to grow something, because there's nothing like growing what you eat. Until the next video, guys, God bless. Bye.